All right. Speaking of people with silly faces or whatever we were talking about a second ago, should we talk about AEW this past week and get that out of the way?
Well, there were definitely some interesting things on the show. I will say I've enjoyed the show lately a little bit more than I have before because at least there's a couple of segments I dig. The endings are still really awful. Just it drives you away, but there's a few things I really liked on here.
I'm I'm trying to figure out what a few would be. But the start again, they were in Peoria, by the way. Peoria, Illinois. Fine place. If it plays in Peoria, it'll work anywhere. And they started the show again with this a mixed tornado tag team match with Dick the Boozer and Marina Schaefer against Swerve Strickland and Willa Nightingale. And they tried to have their Kate and Edith too, because it was the guys fighting the guys and the girls fighting the girls, but every once in a while the girls could fight the guys, and then the guys could snatch a hold of the girls, but they couldn't hit them. And then finally, by the end of it, as long as it was accidental and he didn't really mean to do it, you could, drop the girl on her face. But it's ridiculous. And again, if Marina Schaefer's a real life badass, I'm sorry, I don't care. But there's happy fucking smiling, hand clapping Willow Nightingale out there with the world champion and his supposed top challenger that have been trying to fucking murder each other, and she's going through furniture just barely. And it's there's girls, and what the fuck is just visually. And again, it's ridiculous when they jump started the thing and had the big fight on the floor, and Swerve's shit was faker than Moxley's. Did you see the punches? They were on the railing in front of the fans 1 foot away, and he's not only is he not hitting him, it didn't look like he was trying to hit him. He's just waving his arms in the air, and there's a close up on camera. And they were on the floor with the four-way for minutes where the girls were fighting on one side, the guys were fighting on the other side. And then they pulled a table out, and the girls then did some shit in the ring while the guys did the shit on the desk. And then the girls rolled out so the guys could get in and start doing running spots. They've had a goddamn four-way brawl with a goddamn on the floor for minutes, and they pulled a table out and they get in and start doing one tackle drop down hip toss. What the fuck? And as then Swerve gave Moxley a backbreaker, kind of. It looked like he decided at the last minute to do it, and then stood him up, and Willow came off the turnbuckle with a drop kick, but she came up short, and her feet barely touched him, but he was ready to take the big bump for the babyface girl, and he did the exaggerated backflip up the feet up in the air like Kurt Hennig. And then the heels just cut the baby faces off while the baby faces were hot dogging and not paying attention. Which you never do, but they did it. And then Marina got heat on Willow while Moxley just had to stagger around, and it was just dying. And then Moxley decided he was going to grab Willow and give her a double arm DDT, but suddenly Swerve jumped in and grabbed Marina Schaefer and picked her up for some big move. And they stood there looking at each other in a stalemate. So then they let each girl go. Like, okay, I'll drop the gun if you drop the gun. And then Willow pushed Moxley into Swerve, so they had a head bonk, and the guys just rolled out and disappeared, hiding, so the girls could do their shit. And they were gone for minutes while the girls fought on the apron, and Marina tried, they had the idea that they wanted Marina to powerbomb poor Willow off the apron of the ring through the table that they'd pulled out and set up. But they couldn't even go into it. They figured if Marina squatted down and Willow went like she was going to kick her, and Marina stood up underneath her, that this would work. Well, holy shit. Did you see this particular spot?
I did see this. I watched this entire match intently, waiting for your review.
Okay, well, Marina squatted down and Willa's got one leg over her shoulder, and Marina's trying to grab her legs and stand up under her, and Willow's trying to grab the top rope. My God, it looked like a fucking... I don't even have a cogent simile. To where Marina tried once, twice, and finally 3 times to stand up under her, and Willow's trying to pull herself up on the top rope. And on the 3rd time, Marina just got up under her enough to fucking halfway or so and let her go. And Willow almost missed the table, but she landed with the back of her head and her shoulders on the table and broke it. But also her weight was continuing down through it. She just landed right flat of her back on that fucking ground. So, and that was their break spot. A woman has been powerbombed off the apron of the ring through a table onto the floor. But don't worry, the rest of the match is coming up and she's going to be involved in it. She was up and just fucking kicking ass here shortly. As a matter of fact, when they came back from the break 3 minutes later, we last saw Willow near death. Moxley and Marina were trying to go for the double superplex on Swerve, but Willow got up and got underneath them and did a goddamn Tower of Boom, a Tower of Boom power bomb, a Tower of Doom power bomb, whatever the fuck I said, on all of them. She got powerbombed through the table, and now she just thrown 3 people 10 feet. It's a, God damn it.
Put the belt on her.
Who's going to stop her?
No one.
And then Willow made a comeback on both of them. And then they got in a 4-way where that Moxley threw Willow out, and she had neutralized Marina some way as so that the guys trade fake forearms. And this went on so long, and the thing, and Moxley getting a sleeper on Swerve. The girls were over in the corner, lost, kind of trying to figure out what to do. And then finally, when the guys got in the right place, Willow powerbombed Marina onto Moxley to break the deal. But now the girls look blown up and lost or blown up, one or the other, possibly both. The guys are trading slaps and forearms again. And then finally, Swerve goes for the kick on Moxley, and Marina pushed Moxley out of the way. So Swerve kicked Marina, just potatoed her right in the fucking head. It was an accident. Didn't mean to do it in this highly contrived spot. And then suddenly, after that happened, there was a pop from the crowd, and the camera cuts to Moxley laying on the floor outside the ring, laying in another broken table, but we never saw how it happened. And then they
missed it.
Then they went back and showed that Willow pushed him off the fucking head. He goes through the table, and then Willow powerbombed Marino 1, 2, 3. And
you didn't think I'd eat the pin, did you?
I wish he wouldn't eat the cosmic cookie when he comes up with these ideas. So then Moxley gets in and is staggering around like he's, I don't know what he was trying to, I'm sure he's had plenty of practice staggering. And he's obviously trying to back up toward Willow, whose back is to him, and he backs up into Willow to where he instantly jumps and spins around and grabs her and gives her the DDT, and then looks with the exaggerated, oh my God, what did I do? Like Julia Child when she went overboard on the cinnamon and the pastry. It's bleeding further now. I'm starting to get faint. That's for a small but dedicated audience there. And then he rolled out, and it was 20 minutes of this dreck. it's just, and we're not done. They're gonna try to run people off at the end of the program. Also, our Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman. But your thoughts on this thing here, there?
I like that at some point when they were working on this match, it was,
I got an idea. We won't just hit one girl, we'll hit both the girls.
I mean, I remember when Jake Roberts DDT'd Dark Journey because she threw like chocolate syrup in his eyes, whatever the fuck it was, and Dick Slater was there. And they didn't even pull that off the right way. Like they got the big pop, but like she went down too quickly. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about like what was clearly the heel DDTing. The crowd reacted very interestingly. What did you think of the crowd reaction to Moxley hitting a woman?
Well, they popped for that because they knew that it that's one of the things that they know they're not supposed to do. Ooh, they did it. I think they would have liked to have seen a live Tijuana Donkey show, and it'd be the same kind of pop, but it's just this show. Can you remember Steve Austin and The Undertaker days before their pay-per-view main event for the world title, deciding to pick two young ladies from the fucking diva pool to have the mixed tornado tag with?
No, The Undertaker waited a few years for that.
Well, if Michelle McCool had been in this, I'd have liked it better.
Oh, come on. That's a ridiculous statement. That's a ridiculous
Well, all right. I'll admit that. But what's not ridiculous is what they did next. It was just kind of sad. Tony Storm and Penelope Pit Stop. And by the way, FTR did some stuff in the back where Dax and they're reading prepared statements. Cash is pissed at him.
You didn't watch that?
I watched it. I don't care.
You know what? I actually think it may be the most interesting thing FTR's done in a long time. Coming off that,
it's not a compliment now.
It's not, but I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like coming off that sit-down interview with Cope last week where I feel like Dax's personality, when he's acting like a heel, it comes out a lot better than when he's, Mr. Goody Two-Shoes.
Well, I'm not arguing with that, but I think he just came off as bothersome here.
I don't know. I thought this was good. I'm actually not looking forward to the match because I hate Cope's matches, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do an FTR heel turn.
Well, and Cash says he's going to have to talk after this thing, so they may not be doing it there. I don't know what they're doing. I don't care anymore.
But when I told you earlier that there were things on the show that I liked, this was one of them. I actually thought this was, FTR, it's the one thing they've been lacking is anything outside the ring. And again, I don't think they'll break them up because why in the world would you do that? But
then it's just the whininess. Okay, Dax does the insincere apology, but he's trying to be sincere, but it just came off as stagey. But he apologizes to the referee and he gives him the $10,000. Take your wife out to dinner. God damn. I know the economy's bad, but that's an expensive fucking dinner.
The referee was happy.
Certainly he was. And then there's the flowery thing. It's not believable verbiage. It doesn't sound like it's from the heart, which maybe if it was a sarcastic apology to the referee, it'd be one thing. But then he sounds like he's talking to his partner Cash, and it's not genuine. He's trying to be genuine, talking like somebody that would really say this to their friend, and it sounds fucking hokey. And Cash is like, well, we'll win at the pay-per-view, but then after that, we're going to have to talk. Like instead of like if they were really boys, and he wouldn't just say, what the fuck are you doing? We're not going to fucking talk about it here in front of the camera, but I will slap you if you goddamn. It's just,
and by the way, you got too much money. You're giving a referee $10,000. What the fuck is the matter with you?
It's high school level shit that they've written for a skit between themselves. That's why I don't like it. And Tony Storm and Penelope Pit Stop.
Yeah.
Because I wrote here, Tony Storm isn't a bad worker, but Penelope is. And that's now here, yes, Tony's over. They're going to give her a win fine. Penelope is indie level as far as she doesn't look like she's actually in this. She's doing the moves by the numbers, and she looks like she's studying to try to remember in between or going to the next thing. We talked about not connecting on a major league level with Tony Halm, even when you might look good, but if you don't connect, she's just there. That's why she can't swim in the big pool, but she's, here putting Tony over. And that's what happened. And then Swerve, who he does a really over-scripted promo, faking concern over Willow's health, and he swears that he's going to find Jon Moxley and get his hands on him by the end of the night. That's their big cliffhanger. Meanwhile, they've put a massage table in a fucking closet. And there's a trainer, Willow's face down on the table, and there's a trainer allegedly attending to her, and there's, they're standing there concerned, but if you look at the surroundings, the table is in front of a door in the back of this closet. There's no way that door could be open to get in this room with the table there. And on this side, the door to that room is like within a foot from the edge of the fucking table. So it would literally be just a table in a room the size of a fucking table.
Boy, that DDT,
there was this.
That DDT really fucked her up a whole lot worse than that table spot did.
Well, and that's another thing. Yeah, she took the goddamn powerbomb through the table and came back to throw everybody around and win the match. And then she gets DDT'd by this fucking idiot, and she's in a medically induced coma.
So what do you think about the...
Anyway, go ahead.
With this segment with Swerve in the back, and they kind of reference it again later. The whole idea Renee's doing these interviews, that it's her husband that's doing all these awful things.
Yeah, that comes up again later on. But at least she's concerned about the awful things her husband is doing. I wonder, is she going to get some kind of protective order or something? But anyway, then came the other segment, because when you said there was segments you liked, I could think of one. I couldn't think of too many more, but the continuing evolution of the saga of MJF and MVP. And that's what they did. Unfortunately, Shelton Benjamin, I guess, this was probably a shoot. They had no reason to lie, because Illinois was right where those storms were coming through, and Shelton lives in Houston, and that was right where the storms were ending up. So Shelton was not there due to the storms, they said, but MVP and Lashley came out to the ring. And then as Bobby was about to speak, MJF comes out, and there was one point right before he started where he reacted to something that one of the fans said or did, but we couldn't hear it. And I don't know what the fuck it was. Did you catch that, or were you paying attention until he started speaking?
I caught the moment. I don't know what was said.
Yeah, and
I caught the reaction, I guess is the better way to put it.
Well, yeah, and I wish he wouldn't do that, because then it's distracting. But anyway, to be fair, he's used to where you can hear individual people speaking in AEW crowds. But MJF, he does the big deal where he, in a Weasley fashion, in his own way, introduces himself to Bobby Lashley and put Bobby over in his own way. But he told Bobby that, I know AEW. I can help you and Shelton hold those tag team belts. You could help me get back my AEW world title. That's the whole pitch. It's just good business. You need MJF. And that's his pitch. And Bobby says, out of respect for MVP, I'm not going to leave you laying right now. Just Jesus Christ. He doesn't like MJF. He doesn't trust him. They don't need him. And basically, you need to get the hell out of my ring unless you can prove yourself to us. So you mean there's a chance? And MJF reacts to that qualifier. Oh, okay. And he kind of snickers and he leaves the ring. Okay, so we've got something now where what's MJF going to do to try to prove himself to Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin? And MVP still trying to keep the peace amongst everybody that he likes, but at least this was done professionally. It didn't take a half an hour. Everybody seemed serious with what they were doing. And, again, the Hurt Syndicate is one of the only things that people are genuinely reacting to in a positive fashion, as far as not just chanting their catchphrase or doing the audience participation shit, but reacting to the matches as well. They'll say we hurt people, but they react to the matches and they pop to the personalities. So more MJF in with them and less of him playing with children is a positive at this point for MJF. Is this the other thing you like?
Yeah, I really like this. I really like this whole storyline, wherever it's going, what it's been, the MVP, MJF stuff. Last week was great. This week I thought was really good. I wish Shelton was there, but it works that he wasn't. But yeah, no, I really like this. Again, I said there's a couple things in AEW they're doing right now, and I really like it, and nothing's too predictable with these two things. So I like it.
Well, I'm glad you approve. Because, that's the thing, Brian, is that, a lot of these wrestlers in AEW, they haven't been grateful for their push. Yeah, they haven't been, they just sit at home and don't want to say yes to creative, the old Miro thing. And I've wondered what they're doing sitting at home. Sometimes Tony leaves them there when they want to leave, like we talked about, but other times they just go home and you don't see them anymore. And I'm wondering what they're doing with their time, Brian. How are they occupying themselves? And then I realized, Brian, you know why there's been so many people that have just gone home because of bad creative and stayed there and collected Tony Khan's checks? Do you know why?
No.
Because they are plotting and planning. When that contract runs out, they're going to have a business on Shopify.
Oh.
That's what they're doing. They are setting up for life after Richie Rich, when they can no longer have the billionaire boy child financing their life. They're going to actually go out there and they're going to sell their products and services and goods and furs and trappings. It's fur season now in the Dakotas. They're trapping raccoons for pelts. And they're going to put all this stuff on Shopify, like we've done with our new show shirts. They're going to be on the Shop app. They're going to be at Shopify.com. Shopify, the number one checkout on the planet, the number one selling platform, is going to make these wrestlers rich in their future endeavors. That's why they're all going home, because they need time to prepare. They need time to upgrade their business and get the same checkout that the big boys use and have a major commerce platform where they can convert money from rubles and rhinestones and anything that people want to spend around the world to give you good old-fashioned American cash. That's right, in your pocket with Shopify. They need time, Brian, to sign up for the $1 a month trial period at Shopify.com/JCE, where the people at Shopify can show these disgruntled future ex-wrestlers how they can still make money with their amazing ideas. Miro, for a while, he was going to sell Bulgarian Cinnabons. Did you know that? But unfortunately, it didn't quite work. It didn't quite work out. He said he was going to glaze them himself. Okay. Like, you remember when he was going to glaze me?
Okay, well, let's not talk about former threats of assault on you. Let's talk about wonderful ways to assault the wallet of the consumers. Shopify.
Yes, well, you can assault people's wallets. It's just like turning them upside down and shaking them for change, folks. With Shopify on your side, when you walk down the street, people they'll stop in front of you, dig in their pockets, and throw money at your feet just so that the Shopify people don't have to deal with them. That's the kind of reputation you're going to have around town. People are going to give you money just so you won't look at them sideways because they know you got Shopify.com on your side. And once again, a $1 a month trial period at Shopify.com/JCE to really rake in the dough and upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/JCE. $1 a month trial period.
That's right. Just like us, we're powered by Shopify, our new store. You can be too. Shopify.com/JCE.
And you know what? That power doesn't go out in the event of a power failure. Shopify will actually come to your home and they'll hook up this little stationary bicycle thing. And this guy, he runs it. And that's like on Gilligan's Island, it revs up this battery that they hook to it that'll power your whole house.
Shopify will not be
during a power failure, you don't have to worry about being down and offline and everything like that, so you can't sell.
There's a lot not to worry about, and you don't have to worry about your sales when you partner with Shopify. Once again, Shopify.com/JCE. Back to you, Jim, as we move on here on your show.
Don't worry. No reason to worry. That guy's been doing this for years. He knows what he's doing. Anyway, then we had Big Bill and Brian Keith beat the team of Tits and Taint McGee. Did you see any finer points in that contest, Brian?
No.
Well,
confrontation with MVP and Lashley and Big Bill and Brian Keith.
Well, it wasn't a confrontation. They looked down their nose at each other on the way to the ring. And at the pay-per-view, they will be beating them in summary fashion. Too many pronouns, pal. The Hurt Syndicate will beat the other fellows. Whether they like it or not, probably from what we've seen last week. And then can you explain to me what in the world was the reasoning why they decided to put their, again, top babyface, as far as I can fucking see from a combination of audience reaction and the fact that he's still young enough to be able to do some of this shit. Will Ospreay, along with Kevin Knight making his debut against Blake Christian and Lee Johnson. They had to go 10 minutes against two job guys. And if you throw in the fact that nobody in the fucking world knows who Kevin Knight is, then that makes three job guys, unknown people. But because, again, they do the cheerleading routines. Does Tony think that this gets somebody over when you put them out there to do all these cartwheels and round-offs just because they can do it, and he doesn't understand that there's a pecking order of talent on his roster and Ospreay should not have been in this?
I think Tony thinks, why put someone over if they can't have a good match? And this is the first time I've seen Kevin Knight. I got to say, he was impressive.
Well, then bring him in and concentrate on him instead of making him. Oh, but here's the thing. The booking reason behind it was going to be because Ospreay and Kevin Knight are going to wrestle each other Sunday on the pay-per-view in the Owen Hart tournament. So that naturally meant they would be tag team partners tonight. They're going to wrestle each other in a tournament on pay-per-view on Sunday. And that means that Kevin Knight, who got the win here, will do a job in his second fucking match in the company. That's what they just assume that if you're a great wrestler, in their eyes, great, I'm sorry, then you should be just moved right into this spot, and it doesn't matter whether you win or lose because everybody already knows you're a great wrestler. And then people beat the shit out of you. Samoa Joe was still playing with children in the back. There's that. They had a match, Brian, between Brody King and Lance Archer. Even the losers get lucky sometimes. Because all these guys have done on television is lose, so naturally they would have a fight. And the ultimate loser was decided when, after plodding along for a while, I don't know whether they fucked something up and just said, fuck it, or whether this was just what they had intended to do. But Brody King just clotheslined him and covered him 1, 2, 3. Did I miss anything there that needed to be brought to anyone's attention?
I missed it too. This was one of 2 matches on the show. I was just like, I already know I'm not going to like this match. I have no interest in seeing this match. In this case, I didn't. I didn't watch the match. Sorry.
But even the losers hit the key sometimes. Well, now we were ready for the main event. Notice I said not the last thing on the show, but the main event. Edge versus Claudio Castagnoli. I didn't think I'd ever say this, 3 years ago, when I was still a fan of Claudio's, before he's done all the things he's done over the last 3 years. But Jesus Christ, they had 18 minutes left in the show. So I figured this can't run over. They can't be doing an overrun. But at the same time, at this point, with the weather and the frayed nerves and the amount of wrestling of not a good description that I'd watched, I said, you know what? I'm skipping ahead to the finish. And I'll just see what happens and who's going to run in or whatever. And I got till 2 minutes till 10 and they were still going. I assume you didn't fast forward this because you watch things while they're happening. Was this as long as it apparently must have been?
This was a combination of my 2 least favorite things, Cope and Claudio. They both bore the hell out of me. Their matches don't do it for me. Claudio, I'm sorry. Anyone who wants to tell me, oh, his European uppercut looks great, it looks like shit. It looks like he's smacking his shoulder into your upper chest and you just sit back and take it. It doesn't look good, and he's nonstop doing it. His matches are boring as fuck. He's got no personality. His whole personality is tied to Moxley, and that's death, quite literally. And then Cope, who just has long matches that never fucking end. The fans will be excited and they'll sing his music when he comes out, and then they go to sleep standing up. It's like he has sleepwalking matches where he causes the fans to go into a walking coma.
That's called somnambulism.
Yeah, I hated it. I didn't like this at all. These guys are the most boring guys. If you get past, again, some guys have a cult of personality and some people want to remember Edge back in the day. Point me to the last thing he did that was good. Jesus. I don't want to see him wrestle anymore. And I don't want to see Claudio. And Claudio needs to go home. I'm sorry. Get him off TV. The Death Riders stuff. Don't even send him to Ring of Honor. You know what? We've done all we can. Go home. I'm sorry.
We've done all we can. We can't do anymore. I would like to remember that Edge retired after his employment in the WWE. That's the way I'd like to remember him. And I'd like to remember Claudio as Chris Hero's tag team partner when he was full of vim and vigor about 10 or 12 years ago. And
terrible.
Nevertheless, so they went until 2 minutes till 10, and finally Claudio got 2 chairs, and put one under Edge, who couldn't just roll over away from it. But then the referee took the other chair away, and while he was throwing that out, Edge hit Claudio with a nut shot and speared him 1, 2, 3, and right then is when my DVR froze. But I know there's always got to be an overrun. So I had recorded Modern Family.
Oh, good.
So I go to that, and, Edge celebrates, and he's defeated Claudio. And then Renee Moxley Good was in the back trying to get a word with the guy that was looking for her husband to kill him, Swerve Strickland. And Swerve said, I'm sorry, Renee. Can't talk to you right now. I'm looking for your husband. And then he just starts walking down the hall. And the camera's following him. And then suddenly behind him at the end of the hall he just came from, through the curtain comes Hangnail Adam Page. And he's, hey, stop, hold on here. And as Page comes up to Swerve, and they start yelling at each other, all of a sudden, like half a dozen security guys dressed in black run through the same curtain. And it looked like 8th grade hall monitors. I mean, yes, they're the indie outlaw boys that they get in every town, but they were exceptionally unintimidating looking. That you would be concerned if they were working security amongst kindergartners. And they got around, 3 of them got around Page, 3 of them got around Swerve, and they all bent over so they wouldn't be blocking the guys or blocking the camera shot, and they gave them Tony Khan like hugs around their waist and remained motionless, looking up out of the corner of their eyes, and with the frozen hands. This is the phoniest fucking thing. I couldn't take my eyes off these guys in these unnatural positions. It looked like one guy was doing the fucking pose for a goddamn, is he going to give him a blowjob or not? And
that pose,
that pose, you see it all the time. And there's Swerve and Page yelling at each other and pointing the fingers. And then Page says, well, no, that's right. Now, who burned who? Page, yeah, Page said, I burned your house down. And Swerve said, I deserved it.
No, that's no way. It was.
How was it? Who did what to who?
Adam Page said, you came into my. Swerve said he did what he did, and then he said, you came into my family. You deserved it. And Swerve said, I know. And that kind of stopped Adam Page.
That's right. You burned my house down. And Page said, you deserved it. And
I know.
Swerve said, I know. And then suddenly when he said, I know, I did something that deserved you burning my house down. But when he said, I know, then suddenly all the security instantly let go also, because that was their cue. They instantly just let go and looked up like, oh, now they're not going to fight.
And then the sun came out and the clouds went away.
Oh, God damn it.
Who knew it was that simple? Who knew you could end it that simply?
And that's when Page said, what did you say? And they looked at him, and then Page like ran off like, oh my God. And he ran off, and the security guys leave. And then Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman all jump Swerve.
Peekaboo.
And they start beating him up. And I said, my God, now they're taking him to the ring. The show's not over. It's going to get worse.
Where's security?
They were probably making sure that Page had everything he needed to get out of the building. Because again, suddenly they had 5, 6 security guys there when these guys are yelling at each other. And then when they stop yelling at each other, they just disappear. And now there's 5 people actually gang fucking assaulting this one guy, and there's nobody. And Swerve where's Nana? Nana was with fucking Willow earlier, but he's there. Does Swerve have any friends? Is there any more security? Is there any more referees? They all 5 take Swerve to the ring, and nobody is trying to help. And they get the boring heat that they always get, where they just hold the guy, and Moxley's just doing his fucking weird wiggle and trash talking him. And then they get a fucking bucket of what is purported to be broken glass, and they pour the broken glass in the middle of the ring and power bomb Swerve into it. And then Swerve, as they get out and leave Swerve laying there, Swerve sits up so that they can see the camera. The idea is he gets up and he actually stands up and he starts laughing, so they can see that they have not injured him by power bombing him into broken glass. But when he sits up, and from then on, all the bullshit glass is stuck to his back. There's not a drop of blood. Whatever the substances were that the spikes in the bat were made out of, They did stick in his fucking skin. This had to be phony glass because there was not a drop of blood. He was not cut. He was not stuck, but it was all sticking to him. But here's the problem. Either you've got two choices here. People can think it's fake glass and look, it's sticking to him, but it didn't cut him. It's all fake. Or they can think it's real glass and look, what a stupid motherfucker that is. He just let that guy power bomb him into real broken glass. Either you're a stupid, bad faker, or you're just a stupid moron that lets somebody do something like that to you in front of this audience and in front of most audiences today. One of those two things.
What about option 3? You think some guy said, this Moxley's a moron. I'm going to sell him a bunch of sugarcane glass.
Now, that might be if you're in the fucking sugar glass industry, but it's outlaw horseshit that appeals to freaks and idiots and people who want to laugh at the phoniness of this and these people. And that's why it has a limited audience, and it always will. And that's why they're where they are now, with nobody over and the people basically having a few people that they're interested in, and the rest of it is just watching stupid people do stupid things to each other. And this was another example of that.
What do you think should happen in the title match, Swerve and we just previewed it, I know, but now we just saw these hot things happening here on the show. And of course, Renee still hasn't turned heel, so there's always that.
It changes nothing about what we said because they still haven't paid. They got a stadium. And for better or for worse, nobody is ready in a position to take this fucking thing off of Moxley, whether just by bad booking on purpose or bad booking by accident. There's no, for as much time and effort as they put in this thing, there's no huge blow off on the horizon where you could, oh my God, it's The Rock and Austin. They're finally going to collide. Or there's nothing of that. And this is another one of the monthly pay-per-views where they're going to have a bunch of monthly matches amongst people that look like they're on their monthlies.
Maybe they could do like a Cincinnati Jimmy Garvin Precious Sunshine thing, where all of a sudden Marina gets ditched for Moxley's actual wife.
Well, I wish that Jerry Springer was still with us. Because he was the mayor of Cincinnati,
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Heck of a town.
You know why he had to leave politics in Cincinnati?
Was it a sex scandal?
Yes, but specifically, they found out that he paid for a hooker with a check. So he actually basically signed a receipt to the fucking hooker while he was mayor of Cincinnati.
What did he put in the memo?
I don't know, but a lot of people got the memo. Anyway, not a lot of people got this memo, but how many people watched this program, Brian, here this week on the cable now, not on Max? We know that only Uncle Dave can explain that.
Well, Jim, we do have the ratings, and of course, AEW Dynamite, Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, from 8 to 10:06 p.m. On average, watched by 594,000 viewers.
Ouch. That's going back in the other direction.
Now, to be fair, that's not counting 500,000 people on Max. So it's actually a 1,094,000 viewer Wednesday.
So what you're saying is this program that used to get 1 million people a few years back for their major events now gets about 600,000, that those people stopped watching and they were just waiting until that the show could get on a streaming service, and then they all jumped back in all at the same time.
That seems to be the only likely story, but let's go to the breakdown here. According to WrestleNomics, among primetime telecasts in cable for the key demo 18 to 49, Dynamite ranked 5 or 6, depending on if you count the late NBA game on ESPN. So that's that note. This was
that's good to know.
10% down from last week at 663, 7% off the trailing 4-week average of 637. Again, they've had some good numbers for them the last few weeks.
Now, hey, somebody's going to bring it up. A lot of us were under the pool table during the last part of this this telecast. That could have affected things.
What time? Approximately what time?
Fair.
Approximately what time would that have been?
Well, come to think of it, let's see. Did we get under the pool table by? It was after 10 o'clock. We were under the pool table, but there were storms going on. Some people could have gone early.
Let's go to the quarterly numbers. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Swerve Strickland and Willow Nightingale versus the Death Riders with picture-in-picture. 768,000 viewers.
Ouch. Okay, starting that big and ending up with that average, they're going to slalom again tonight.
We go to quarter 2, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The continuation of Swerve and Willow versus John and Marina. And the post-match with women going down. The FTR
Hey!
in injury. FTR,
Oh.
you are a pervert.
Well.
Oh, will you let me say something? FTR's backstage angle and an ad break.
Hey!
626,000 viewers.
Oh, sweet Nelly. So the Dick the Boozer and his mixed tag team tornado extravaganza ran off 142,000 people in the first 15 minutes.
I'll have a shot of Sweet Nelly.
Let's go to quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. Tony Storm versus Penelope Ford with picture-in-picture. The post-match with Megan Bain. The Swerve Strickland Willow Nightingale.
Women going down.
I don't know about that here, but Swerve Strickland and Willow Nightingale backstage in the closet with the table.
In the closet, and Willow was face down.
And an ad break. 597,000 viewers.
Whoa, going down, down, down. I'm going down, down. There's another 29,000 more, making a total of 171,000 in the first 45 minutes. They have to come back up at some point to make their average. That's just what I said in opposite. At the start, they got to go down to make their average. Now they got to come back up to make their average.
Well, we go to quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. The MJF Hurt Syndicate angle, and then the Learning Tree live angle, it says. The Learning Tree versus CJ Esparza and Gage Noonan. Noonan! The post-match with the Hurt Syndicate, Mercedes Moné, and Harley Cameron's backstage angle. 571,000 viewers.
Well, maybe they've invented new math and they don't have to come back up. Now they've lost, hold on, 197,000 people.
And I don't have a direct source I can cite to you or any real proof or anything, but I just want to let you know that from what I understand, they held 500,000 throughout the entire show, no up or down on Max.
On Max over there. Well, those people there,
but no one knows. But I don't know either.
Well, they have the technology. If you get up from the TV screen, they send you an electric shock.
Well, let's see what kind of a shock we get here. We go to the big 9 o'clock hour, quarter 5, 9 to 9:15 p.m. Blake Christian and Lee Johnson versus Kevin Knight and Will Ospreay with picture-in-picture. 566,000 viewers.
Good Lord. And there's another 5,000 gone at the top of the hour. This is looking very, very odd in this pattern. How are they going to get their average now?
We're going to go to quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The continuation of, I guess the match is over. The Kevin Knight, Will Ospreay live angle. The Ops backstage promo, an ad break, and the start of Lance Archer versus Brody King with picture-in-picture. 542,000 viewers.
Now they're officially down 226,000 people from the start of the program.
We go now to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The continuation of Lance versus Brody, an ad break, and the start of Claudio versus Cope. I couldn't cope with that match. 613,000 viewers.
Wow. So whether you can cope or not, that is 58, 60, 71,000 people came back, and you can't tell me it was, for the fucking backstage pre-tapes or whatever. Are they're still somewhat interested in Edge as a former star?
I don't know about that. We go to quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. A reminder, we have a 6-minute overrun. Claudio versus Cope with picture-in-picture continued. 519,000 viewers.
Oh, okay. Well, they were interested at the start.
They were interested in his song.
So let me get this straight. Suddenly.
Oh, by the way, wait, 6-minute overrun. Swerve, Adam Page, Death Riders live angle, 461.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's the biggest loss ever for an overrun. That's 30, 49, almost 60,000 people.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They suddenly add 71,000 people for the start of the match. And for the end of the match, they lose 94,000 of them. They go to the lowest point ever. How does that correlate to, oh, we're really interested in seeing the first part of this, but goddamn it, we don't want to see any more. They did the third best quarter and the best one since the first 30 minutes of the program, and followed that with the worst quarter of the entire show until the overrun. Well, there you have it.
And the other thing, too, and I've criticized them in the past for not doing show-long things. They did it here, and it didn't connect. The idea Swerve was going to get his hands on Moxley by the end of the show. No one stayed around to see that.
That's the thing. They thought, okay, we got rid of Moxley. Oh, God, they're threatening us. He's going to be back. I don't know what to tell you.
Another stellar week of AEW Dynamite. I'm sure we'll hear another spin this week about the rosy numbers on Max.
Well, and as the rain has begun to fall again over here, Brian, why don't you tell the people what's going on this week at the Arcadian Vanguard Network Studios?
Oh, well, thank you very much, and good luck with the rain. Of course, every single day, get the wrestling news for free from thewrestlingnews.com or wherever you find your favorite podcast. All the wrestling news, everything that happens, no matter where it happens, with no opinion, no conjecture, no star ratings, no paywall, just the wrestling news. Wherever you find your favorite podcast. Of course, want to make mention of Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam. Last few episodes have had great looks back in 1985, 40 years ago. I believe we just reviewed an episode of TBS Wrestling from right before when you got there. Here are today, McAdamPod.com.
So it's got nowhere to go but up.
Or look for Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, the 605 Superpodcast, the Mothership! Go through the archive, 605pod.com. And of course, for Arcadian Vanguard, to get information every day on Twitter at Superpodcast or on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. And I'm on all the social media stuff. And anyone who complains that, hey, I want to see some of the programs from Guest the Program or anything, I put them up. I'm on Instagram, on Twitter. They're there. So that's that.
Yeah. Yeah. Who are these troublemakers?
They are faceless, nameless people. I think it may be bots.
Nattering nabobs of negativity. You put these things out. I retweet many of the things that you Twitter to begin with. So together we've tweeted them all over the place. It's their fault for not following us.
Nabots.
Of course, if they do start following us, we might have to call the law enforcement.